They told you to love with all your heart, to trust, to be kind, to forgive. But they never told you this. That love can be a noose. That kindness, without leverage, is an invitation to be used. You weren't betrayed because you were stupid. You were betrayed because you made it clear. You cared. It happens in love. You text first. You stay up. You overthink. And then they ghost you. Not because you weren't enough, but because you were available. It happens in business. You start a company. You bring on a co-founder. Share your vision, your code, your soul. Then the funding comes in, and you're voted out. It happens everywhere. In family, in boardrooms, even in friendships that pretend to be forever. In this world, the ones who survive aren't the ones who feel the most. They're the ones who can walk away without flinching. The ones who say nothing while everyone else screams. Still doubt it? Then let me introduce you to Cesare Borgia. In 1503, he was Italy's most feared man. A duke, a military genius, a walking empire, so powerful that Machiavelli himself called him the ideal prince. 4 years later, his body lay in a ditch, alone, unarmed, unmourned. Betrayal never knocks. It smiles, and it always visits those too sentimental to see it coming. This world doesn't run on kindness. It runs on perception. And perception is power. And here's the part that should disturb you. You're in this game already, being measured, watched, played. They shame your silence. They guilt your boundaries. They call you cold when you finally stop explaining yourself. But listen closely. The less you care, the more power you hold, because emotion is a leash. And the man who controls his reactions, he controls the room. Today, you won't just hear a story. You'll hear a blueprint. Not for being liked, not for being loved, but for being untouchable. You'll walk into a world full of noise and become the silence they fear. You'll see the faces around you, not as friends or foes, but as players. And you'll stop letting your weakness write their script, because from this moment on, you are no longer prey. You are the storm behind the silence. Let's begin. You've been told that emotion is power, that being vulnerable is strength, that the more you feel, the more human you are. Wrong. Emotion in the wrong hands becomes a weapon. And when you don't control it, someone else will. Let me show you how. Michael was brilliant, Harvard educated, a rising star in his firm. Everyone liked him. Everyone smiled at him. Until one morning, during a team meeting, Michael said the fatal words, "I'm struggling with this project. I could really use some help." 2 months later, he was out, dismissed, replaced. What happened? Sarah, his supportive colleague, the one who smiled, nodded, clapped in meetings, had been whispering upstairs. Michael's cracking. He can't handle pressure. He's not leadership material. And the truth, she didn't need to prove anything. She just needed him to look weak. He gave them permission to doubt him by being honest. That's what no one tells you. Honesty is not safe. Transparency is not rewarded. Emotion is not sacred. Not in a world run by perception. It happens beyond the boardroom too. A young woman opens up in a relationship. She shares her past, her wounds, her fears, and the man she trusted starts using her pain as ammunition in every fight. Why are you so emotional all the time? He mocks the very soul she dared to expose. That's why the first law of power is simple. Never bleed in front of wolves. You don't have to be broken for them to break you. You just have to look breakable. Machiavelli didn't survive because he was unshakable. He survived because he seemed unshakable. Even when chaos was closing in, he wore calm like armor. You think that's fake? No. That's discipline. That's strategy. That's survival. In today's world, your tears are screenshots. Your doubts are forwarded. Your weakness is repackaged as gossip and weaponized without mercy. So here's your new rule. No public breakdowns. No crying for likes. No explaining your struggles to people who haven't earned your silence. Every time you show your emotional state, someone calculates how to use it. You are not a soul to be understood. You are a system to be decoded. And the more predictable your feelings, the easier you are to control. So, protect yourself. Don't broadcast your pain. Don't explain your heart. Don't hand out your peace like it's free. Because in a room full of men who overreact, the man who controls his face controls the outcome. And in silence, he becomes the one they fear the most. If this truth hits somewhere deep, don't keep it to yourself. Like, share, and subscribe, not just to follow, but to arm yourself with power most never learn. Drop a comment which line reflected your story. And if you believe this message needs to be heard, tap the super thanks. Your support helps us craft the truths they don't want you to hear. Who holds the power in a room? It's not the loudest voice, not the one who tells the best stories, not the one who commands attention. It's the one who doesn't speak until everyone else has revealed themselves. Silence is strategy. In 1945, as the world was rebuilding from war, Churchill made speeches. Roosevelt charmed the table, but Stalin, he sat still, unmoved, unsmiling, watching, and when he finally spoke, the room went quiet. Because silence makes people listen when you choose to break it. That's the psychology of power. Speak less, mean more, but don't just look to history. Look around you. In corporate boardrooms, there's always that one man leaning back, watching others argue. He doesn't interrupt. He doesn't pitch in. He lets them exhaust themselves, spill their fears, contradict their values. And when the room burns itself out, he speaks just one sentence, and everyone nods. Not because he's right, but because he waited. Most people talk because they fear being misunderstood. But the powerful man, he's fine with being misunderstood. He lets you guess, and in your guessing, you expose more than he ever does. Because silence creates mystery, and mystery is terrifying. You don't fear what you can see. You fear what you can't predict, what you can't calculate, what you can't read. And so you chase it. You obsess over it. You try to decode the man who reveals nothing. That's how control begins. The more you explain, the more people think they understand you. And once they think they understand you, they stop respecting you because they believe they've mapped your walls. So here's the rule. Never speak to fill space. Never answer to reduce tension. Never explain to earn trust. Instead, let silences hang. Let discomfort work in your favor. Let them speak more because the one who talks first. Law's positioning. And next time you feel the urge to prove yourself, don't lower your voice. Narrow your words. Stare longer. Say less. Because the less you give them, the more they lean in. And the more they lean in, the less grounded they become. Stillness is not absence. It's pressure. Unapologetic. Heavy. The kind of presence that fills the room without needing to declare itself. Because in a room full of noise, the man who speaks least writes the terms. What do they want from you? A reaction. Because once you react, you're not leading, you're following. They insult you, so you defend. They lie about you, so you over-explain. They ignore you, so you chase. And in all that motion, you become theirs. Reaction is not power. Reaction is permission. It's handing your emotions to someone else and saying, "Here, pull the strings. Let me tell you what power looks like." It looks like silence when you're expected to explode. It looks like stillness when chaos surrounds you. It looks like a man who hears everything and answers with nothing. Why? Because he knows something others don't. Stillness is pressure. Stillness is control. Stillness makes them speak first and expose themselves. Think of a chessboard. The novice reacts to every move, always responding, always explaining, always on defense. But the master, he waits, he watches, he lets you overextend, then strikes in silence when it counts. It happens every day. A startup founder gets ambushed in an investor call. They say she's too young, too emocional, unfit to lead. But instead of defending her resume, she pauses, smiles, then slides forward the revenue report, twice the growth they expected. She never reacted. She responded. Or a man receives that dreaded text. "We need to talk." He knows the playbook. She withdraws. To provoke him, to trigger a chase. But he doesn't bite. Hours pass, then days, and suddenly, she's the one unraveling because he didn't react. He left her to confront the silence she created. That's the art of stillness. Here's your new protocol for power. When you're provoked, pause. When you're insulted, smile. When you're challenged, ask a question. Don't give an answer. And when they demand a reaction, give them your calm. Nothing destabilizes the manipulator more than a man who won't flinch. Because when you don't give them what they expect, you force them to confront the one thing they fear most, their own irrelevance. They'll panic. They'll push harder. They'll raise their voice, stretch their tactics, bait you with emotion. But you stay still. You stay unreadable. Because you've realized something critical. The one who reacts plays their game. The one who waits rewrites the rules. Stillness isn't weakness. It's quiet warfare. It's your mind refusing to be dragged into theirs. It's strategy disguised as serenity. So next time the storm rises, don't match it. Be the eye, the calm, the center, the one they can't move no matter how loud they get. Because in the war of dominance, the one who moves last wins. Loyalty sounds beautiful. It feels sacred. We're told it's the highest virtue. But that's the first deception. Loyalty isn't love. It's leverage, or it's nothing. Look at Caesar. Respected, feared, worshipped, and then, on the Senate floor, he was stabbed 23 times. Not by enemies, by allies, by Brutus, his protégé, his loyal friend. And in that final moment, Caesar didn't scream. He didn't beg. He simply asked, "You too, my child." It wasn't pain that killed him. It was the realization that loyalty is a myth, because people aren't loyal to you. They're loyal to what you provide. Your influence, your status, your usefulness. When your value drops, so does their devotion. Machiavelli understood this long before modern psychology. He wrote, "Men are ungrateful, fickle, false, cowardly, and covetous. And if you build your power on their affection, you build on shifting sand. Want proof? Look around. A young entrepreneur builds a startup from scratch. Late nights, burned savings, total sacrifice. He brings in his closest friend to help scale. They pitch to investors, get a term sheet, and suddenly he's cut out. Board votes him out as CEO. His friend, quiet, complicit, because loyalty ends where opportunity begins. In corporations, your closest teammates will ghost you the moment layoffs begin. In friendships, comfort ends when you stop being convenient. In love, many say forever until something shinier appears. So here's your new rule. Stop building bonds. Start building leverage. Leverage is what keeps people from turning. Not their feelings, not their promises. What they fear losing if they cross you. Because when someone likes you, they'll support you until they don't. But when someone needs you, when crossing you has a cost, they think twice. Here's how to build it. 1. Become irreplaceable. Be the one who knows what others fear. Be the one who solves what others can't. 2. Control access. Don't be available. Be earned. Make people understand. Having you around is a privilege, not a default. 3. Know their dependencies, their weaknesses, their gaps, their secrets. 4. Say less. Deliver more. Your value shouldn't be advertised, it should be suspected. And most importantly, never show how much you need anyone. The moment they sense you can't walk away, they own you. But when you hold the leash not through affection, but through consequence, they stay loyal. Even if they resent you. That's real power. Not in their smiles, not in their words, but in their caution. Because deep down, they know, if they lose you, they lose control. When they betray you, your instincts scream. Strike now. Make them feel it. Show them you're not weak. Don't. That's what they expect. That's what they want. Because if you lash out, they own your emotions. If you react, they set the tempo. If you show pain, they win before you've even responded. Understand this. Power doesn't flinch. Power disappears, then returns, without warning. You don't believe me? Let me tell you about Al Capone. In 1929, 7 of his rivals from Bugs Moran's gang were lined up and executed. It was cold, strategic, no drama, no shouting, just silence and bodies. And where was Capone? Nowhere near it. He was in Florida, establishing an alibi, smiling for photographs, pretending nothing had ever happened. He didn't react. He responded. Calculated, inevitable, quiet as death. Because real power doesn't shout. It watches, it waits, it strikes once, and never repeats itself. It happens today too. A startup founder gets blindsided. His partner leaks trade secrets to a competitor. Instead of exposing it online or suing in rage, he says nothing. He quietly builds version 2, then hires away the competitor's key developer. 3 months later, his product launches first, and the traitor's funding dries up. No threats, no tantrums, just silence and result. Or a woman gets ghosted after 6 months of deep emotional connection. He thought he'd left her shattered, but she never texts, never posts. 6 weeks later, she appears in a campaign with someone 10 levels above him, smiling like he never existed. He was waiting for a reaction. Instead, He got replaced. That's what makes it art. Here's your new code of retaliation. 1. Act unfazed. Let them believe they got away with it. 2. Gather intel. While they gloat, you watch. While they speak, you record. 3. Find their dependencies. Everyone needs something. Everyone hides something. Learn it. 4. Wait. Wait until they feel safe again. Until their guard drops. Until they think you've forgotten. 5. Then act, not with rage, not with noise, with results. You won't need to yell. They'll feel it in the silence, in the opportunities that vanish, in the rooms they're no longer invited to, in the way people shift their loyalty quietly, completely. They won't know it was you. And that's the point, because when you make your revenge visible, they recover. But when you keep your hands clean, when the blow lands and they don't know where it came from, you haunt them. That's the art of Machiavellian retaliation. Strategic, delayed, denied, and above all, invisible. Your enemy should never know how much they affected you. Let them believe they missed, while you erase them methodically, surgically, and with a smile. Because the loudest revenge is easy to forget, but the one that comes with silence echoes forever. True power doesn't seek the spotlight. It builds the stage, chooses the actors, directs the scene, then disappears before the curtain rises. Because the strongest man in the room is rarely the one talking. It's the one who gave the speaker the script. Visibility is seductive and dangerous, because once they see you, they study you. Once they study you, they envy you. And once they envy you, they sabotage. But if they don't know where you stand, they don't know where to aim. That's how you rule. Not by being seen, but by being everywhere without ever being obvious. J. Edgar Hoover ran the FBI for nearly 5 decades. He never held elected office, never ran a campaign. But presidents feared him, senators respected him, and every man in Washington whispered his name carefully. Why? Because Hoover had files, secrets. He didn't need to threaten. He implied. That's what real power sounds like. Silence. It happens now. 2. Just in a new costume. A company is booming. The CEO's name is on every billboard. But in every board decision, every key hire, every pivot, there's one advisor, never quoted in interviews, never tagged in press releases. But no deal moves without his nod. He's not the face, he's the force. Or in politics, a leader rises fast. Public speeches, campaign rallies, charisma on fire. But behind him, there's an old friend, never photographed, never named. But every policy passed carries his fingerprint. Because real power doesn't need recognition. It just needs access. So how do you lead from the shadows? 1. Let others seek the crown. Applause makes men weak. You don't need validation. You control distribution. 2. Be the architect, not the ornament. They build image. You build outcomes. 3. Control access. Be the gate. Make sure nothing important happens without your involvement, even if your name is never mentioned. 4. Feed egos to build loyalty. Let others believe they're in charge, while you gently shape their moves with silence, suggestion, and timing. 5. Never make your presence loud. Make your absence felt. This is the paradox of dominance. Let them wear the crown. Let them stand in the light. Let them take the credit, while you quietly own the chessboard. Because when you're invisible, you become unpredictable. And when you're unpredictable, you become unstoppable. In a world obsessed with attention, you will do the opposite. You will hide in plain sight. You will control without being known. You will win without ever having to announce you're playing. Let them fight over appearances. You write the script from behind the curtain. And when history is written, they'll wonder how you were always 2 moves ahead. They told you love is pure, that if you give more, it grows. That vulnerability is beautiful, that needing someone is human. They lied. Because in love, just like in war, need is weakness. And the one who needs less wins. You think love is sacred? Machiavelli would tell you this. The battlefield does not care for intention, only for outcome. And love is a battlefield soaked in perfume. It's not who loves more. It's who can walk away faster. Who holds the power in a relationship. Not the one who gives the most. Not the one who texts first. Not the one who says, "I love you" louder. It's the one who stays calm when the other pulls away. The one who doesn't beg for clarity. Who doesn't seek closure. Who doesn't unravel when the silence stretches. The truth. Most people aren't looking for love. They're looking for control disguised as affection. And the moment you need them more than they need you, you've already lost. It happens every day. He gives everything. Plan date. Sends gifts. Messages good morning. And then, one day silence. She doesn't explain. She doesn't respond. She waits to see if he chases. And when he does, desperate and anxious, the game is over. Or she finally opens up to him, shares childhood pain, lets him see the softest part. He listens, smiles, then slowly begins to withdraw, not because he's busy, but because now he has leverage. This is not rare. It's the pattern of power in modern love. They will test you, withdraw to see if you chase, provoke to see if you react, withhold to see if you break. And if you do, you become theirs. Not out of love, but out of leverage. So here's the new law. Never give access to your soul. Be warm, but not exposed. Be present, but never dependent. Love, but from a position of power, not desperation. Because once someone senses you're afraid to lose them, they stop fearing your absence. And the fear of losing you is the only thing that keeps the balance. Let them feel your distance. Let them earn your consistency. Let them wonder if you could walk away and mean it. Because when they know you can leave, they hold you tighter. Not because you forced them to, but because they can't afford to lose something they can't control. This is not cruelty. It's clarity. It's the understanding that real love doesn't ask you to kneel. It asks you to stand still while they circle you in uncertainty. And when they call you cold, detached, unromantic, smile. Because you've stopped being the one who bleeds. You've become the one they chase and fear losing, even if you never said a word. It's freedom. They'll say you're cold, distant, unreachable. They'll whisper that you've shut down, that you're afraid of love, that you've been hurt too many times. But they're wrong, because this is not fear. It's not bitterness. It's not brokenness. It's freedom. Emotional detachment doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you're no longer held hostage by everything. It means you've stopped letting every message, every look, every silence steer your mood, your mind, your identity. It means your peace is no longer public property. Most people are emotional puppets. They smile when they're liked, collapse when they're rejected. Their inner world bends with every external change. But not you. Not anymore. You've learned something most never will. To control your emotions is to control your destiny. Because the more predictable your feelings, the easier you are to manipulate. They praise you, you soften. They ignore you, you chase. They guilt you, you fold. And every time you react, you hand over the steering wheel of your life. But when you detach, when you observe, without absorbing, you become something else entirely. Untouchable. You can still love. You can still care. But now it's a choice, not a compulsion. Now, your heart doesn't pour out to whoever knocks. It waits. It weighs. It withholds until proven worthy. This isn't cruelty. This is discipline. This is power, because freedom isn't doing whatever you feel. Freedom is not needing to act on every feeling. Think of two warriors. One fights for validation, to be seen, to be praised, to be accepted. The other fights for purpose, silent, grounded, unmoved. Guess who survives when the world turns on them? The quiet one, the centered one, the detached one. It plays out in everyday life. You don't reply instantly. They panic. They send follow-up texts. Are you okay? Did I say something wrong? Because they're used to emotional open doors, and now you've built a wall with no handle. And next time someone questions your silence, don't explain. Next time they ask why you don't chase anymore, don't answer. Because the man who detaches is not heartless. He's just finally in command. He's seen what overgiving does. He's buried versions of himself that bled for the wrong people. And now, he feels everything but shows nothing. And in that silence, he is free. He's in control. Most men spend their lives begging. Begging to be liked. Begging to be understood. Begging for closure. For second chances. For one more, I'm sorry. But begging is just another word for surrender. And you were never meant to kneel. Because the man who cares less does not beg. He does not plead. He does not explain. He walks. And in walking away, he rewrites the script. The world calls him cold. But cold is just the absence of desperation. They call him distant, but distance is where power lives. They call him dangerous, and they're right, because he cannot be baited. He cannot be guilted. He cannot be broken. The man who cares less isn't a man without a heart. He's a man who doesn't put it on the table. He doesn't wear it on his sleeve. He guards it like a throne, and only the worthy ever get close. It happens in real life. A man gives his all. Loyalty, vulnerability, forgiveness, and in return, he's breadcrumbed, ignored, gaslighted for being too emotional, until one day, he goes silent, not with rage, not with revenge. Just silence. No more explanations. No more chasing. No more access. And in that stillness, she realizes the game is over. Not because he hated her, but because he woke up. In a world addicted to reaction, he chooses restraint. While others chase chaos, he stands in silence. While others trade emotions like currency, he holds his reblat. And in that stillness, he becomes untouchable. Power is not noise. It's not volume. It's not public displays of dominance. Power is stillness. It's unreadability. It's being the one who can walk away from wealth, from love, from approval, and never flinch, because nothing owns him. Not fear, not longing, not even hope. He is his own master. They say, Caring less is cruel. But what they don't understand is this. Caring too much is a cage that begs, that waits, that suffers for the wrong people. But when you stop caring, not because you're bitter, but because you're awake, you burn the cage. You step out. You lead. That's why the one who cares less always wins. Because while others drown in their emotions, he builds empires from silence. You were never weak for caring. You were simply untrained. No one taught you that emotion, when unguarded, becomes currency. That silence is not absence, it is dominance. That love without power invites exploitation. And most of all, no one told you that the ones who survive are not the loudest, the kindest, or even the strongest. They are the ones who know when not to speak, when not to chase, when not to bleed. This world doesn't reward open hearts. It rewards strategic restraint. You've seen what happens when you over-explain your pain, when you react on impulse, when you let others set the tempo of your inner world. But now you move differently. Now you calculate, not confess. Now you study, not seek. Now you understand. Detachment is not the end of love. It is the beginning of command. And that stillness you've chosen, it's not a defense. It's not a mask. It's a weapon, sharpened by experience, fueled by clarity, guided by the quiet wisdom that not everything deserves a reaction and not everyone deserves access. You don't need to shout. You don't need to beg. You don't need to be understood. Because the storm that speaks loudest is the one that never announces itself. So let them wonder where you went. Let them feel your absence like a blade beneath their skin. Let them guess if they ever truly knew you. Because when you stop playing their game, when you stop feeding their drama, when you become the silence, they fear you stop being prey and start becoming power. If this video reflected a version of you they never expected, like it, share it, and let them hear what silence really sounds like. Drop your thoughts below what part cut the deepest. And if this message helped you take back your power, consider sending a super thanks. It's how we keep creating content that others are afraid to say out loud. Subscribe if you're done explaining. Follow us if you've stopped chasing. Because this isn't just a video. It's your quiet revolution.